Hi, I'm Monica and I have opinions about things. So, today I'm going to review another spooky movie. I'm going to be reviewing Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose in 1992. I wasn't really knowing what to expect when I watched it. I actually just wanted to watch it because Philip Glass wrote the score, and I love Philip Glass. Woo! Yes! So, this movie sounds really cheesy when you go on Wikipedia and look up a synopsis. It's about this woman, a grad student, who is writing her master's thesis on urban legends, apparently, so I wonder if my school has an urban legends major. But so she's currently researching this urban legend called Candyman, and he's this guy who was like a really talented artist, but because he was black, he got lynched when he was like in love and got a white woman pregnant. So he got lynched and like horribly mutilated, and he ended up with like a hook hand. So that's like really sad and horrifying. That's one thing about this movie, is that it has emotional weight. Like this Candyman guy, who has an actual name, his name is Daniel. There's actually emotional weight with this villain who you think is just going to be a generic slasher dude who goes around killing people with this hook for a hand. But it actually, you don't just pity him because he lost something, you feel sad because he could have had a great life, because he had a girlfriend who loved him and he was a great artist and stuff. And yeah, it's actually kind of emotional, but we're gonna talk about that more later. So like I said, the premise is kind of cheesy when you think about it. A guy with a hook hand is going around terrorizing people in this suburb of Chicago, Cabrini Green. Well, it's not really a suburb, it's like a housing development that doesn't exist anymore, but it was considered a really rough part of town. And I'm gonna get into why I think that is significant in a little bit. But part of the execution that's good is in fact the soundtrack by Philip Glass. It's really haunting, and it takes this story set in 1990s Chicago and makes it feel like a gothic horror romance like Dracula or something. Mr. Glass uses piano, organ, and wordless chorus, meaning there's no lyrics, it's just the chorus interjecting every now and then, or all the time, going la 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 la, you know, stuff like that. I thought it'd be cheesy because I read about the soundtrack. I was like, really? Organ, voices, and piano? That's it? Nothing else? Oh, and music box, but that's only in one track. So I thought that'd be cheesy, but it's really effective, and it just really drives home this feeling of dread, sadness. You know, he uses them for such a diverse range of emotions. It's really cool. The direction and atmosphere is also very dreamlike. Even though it's set in Chicago, it's like the Cabrini Green housing development is very derelict. It almost looks like post-apocalyptic. It's just this very rundown, seedy place that people are living in, and it's there's like abandoned apartments that are like just trashed. You know, no artificial lighting inside them, graffiti everywhere. It's very spooky. It's like the classic haunted house, but it's urban, and that's why I feel like this is a really effective movie, because it's not like some abstract kind of spooky place that you don't feel really exists. It's like it could happen, it could easily be transplanted to your town, your neighborhood. You know, if you live in a neighborhood, I know I grew up in a neighborhood that had at one point a really creepy abandoned house. And so it's like, I kind of got chills watching this. I was like, ooh, this is like the kind of thing that could happen. And just the acting by the leads was really good. A special shout out to the man who plays Candyman, Tony Todd, who has this super deep voice that they amplify to make it sound even more deep and spooky. And he's like super, super tall, and he wears this like wicked coat, and he just like kind of stands with this big posture, and just the way he acts, the character that he gives off, but also the subtlety in his facial expressions, just the look in his eyes sometimes conveys so much more than like dialogue. He's so good, you guys. He's amazing. So, this is darkly romantic, like Dracula. That's why I made the Dracula comparison earlier. Candyman is actually, he's very in love with Helen, who's the main character. And there's this kind of emotional scene very close to the end of the movie where they kind of hint, why her? And that gave me chills. Like I said, there's a lot of emotional weight. The main thread of this, or like the main source of tension in the latter half of the movie is a woman that Helen met in Cabrini Green when she was researching Candyman was this woman called Anna Marie, and she has a baby called Anthony. And we've already established that the Candyman is not above harming children, because we, as Helen does her research, we've heard things. By the way, don't watch this with your kids because it's disturbing. But we know Candyman's not above hurting children. So later in the movie, when there's this horrifying scene, I don't want to describe it in too much detail because it's very good, but basically, you know, the child goes missing and you have no idea if he's actually okay or not. And it's just like, whoa, it's like really scary. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the fact that I liked it shows that it's not terribly existential dread. I don't want there to be spoilers in this because I actually like this movie, so I'm not going to give away what happens. If you want to know what happens, watch it or read a synopsis on Wikipedia or something. So something I thought was significant was that I was talking about Cabrini Green and the people there. So one thing about Candyman is that we've heard a lot of myths about him in the movie while she's researching. And we don't know if those myths are necessarily true or if they're just stories, you know. So, but then later in the movie, we get hints of the kind of person he was before he was an urban legend. We don't even know if, like, it's an entity that looks like the guy Daniel, or if it is literally him, or if it's some kind of corruption of him, or we don't know. But it's like I'm assuming from what we know, this kind, loving, artistic person is overshadowed by this dark, murderous, violent Candyman persona, much like how the people of Cabrini Green in the movie, everyone's afraid to go there because they think the people are so dangerous. And there are a lot of like gang members hanging around outside who kind of harass Helen and her friend Bernadette when they go to check the place out. But there's like so many people who live there that aren't like that, and I feel like they're overshadowed by the place's reputation. I feel like it really ties in to the character of Daniel and the Candyman. I feel like it all just comes together, and it's like you can't just rely on everything you hear. You know, you have to experience things. I don't know what I'm getting at. I'm not a much think good person, but I kind of thought that was a really interesting choice to set it in this housing development that had this reputation for being really rough, when the people who lived there were just, you know, most of the people who lived there were just normal people who were not doing anything wrong. They were just trying to live. Like Anne Marie, she's just trying to raise her son to be like, you know, not like the gang members. And also there's like a little boy who, in a more cheerful movie, would have been Helen's sidekick or something. This little boy who's like growing up there, he's just a regular little boy. And it's like, just like as we learned with Candyman, we learned that, you know, the people who live here are not, you know, it's not one-dimensional. Anyways, I thought it was really good. Though, of course, I just wanted to touch on, there are some cheesy moments that I didn't quite think flew, but it could just be me. Like a scene where he's like, Candyman's like literally like floating and he's like kind of T-stancing. I thought that was a little cheesy. And then he like goes flying backwards out a window, and that could have just been me, you know. I watch it late at night. I get kind of giggly when I'm tired. And then I feel like every horror movie has a scene like this. Who killed Ruthie Jean? He did. Who? The Candyman. Oh, guess I should have expected that. It's the name of the movie. But like, those are really tiny things. I really like this movie. I feel like it could have just been a really lame, cheesy slasher, but it's, through execution, it was way more than that. It just goes to show that execution of a story is one of the most important things. You know, you shouldn't worry about a premise. You should worry about how you execute it. You know, there's no premise that is too stupid or out there to be a good story. Well, I'm sure there is, but like, don't worry about it when you're writing, you know? And, you know, if you see a movie description that looks really cheesy, you know, give it a shot, you know? Give it a shot. So yeah, that is my review of Candyman. I wanted to do a positive review after that first review I did of, I don't even remember what it was called, the Netflix horror anthology, which I did not like. So yeah, I really like this one. Yeah, I'm not gonna give it a letter grade. I feel like those are kind of arbitrary and hard to assign, but anyways, goodbye. Have a spooky week, and I will see you next time.